got me? Got everything? All right, third practice. First of all, it's a great day to be a Razorback. Anytime you get out on that football field with our players and get better, that's what it's all about. For our third practice in, another great energy day. A lot of fundamentals being taught. A lot of teaching going on by not just the coaches, but even the older players out there teaching. It's really good to see. Not a lot of install. We've been pretty simple with our install right now, and that's by design. It's about going back to the fundamentals and getting better. It's good to see some of these guys really stepping up and really standing out. Update on a few players. Scooter Harris will be out the remainder of spring. He'll have surgery on his foot. Then that will occur Friday, I believe, but we'll expect him back by sometime in May. So he'll be definitely involved in being a student coach out there, or a player coach, I should say. Guys that have really stood out in 3 days, that's really caught our attention. Just some of the newer guys that just joined us. Trey Knox has been as consistent and is really making an impact. When he steps on the field, I've been very pleased to watch him and the growth of the offense and him catching on. It's been good to see. Eric Gregory has been impressive since he's gotten here, and that has not changed. Even though we were in pads today, sometimes you have a tendency to fall back a little bit. But it was good to see those guys and the energy level. Greg Brooks is another one that's been very impressive. Devin Bush, Myron Cunningham in the offensive line. It's good to have some offensive line depth. Coming into this spring is something we have to have, and we've got to create competition. Again, I'm excited about the direction of these young guys, and again, some things that we've seen that guys that are just continue to push and get better out there. Obviously, we know Sosa has been very much a leader, and we're going to continue to push him and to be the leader on that on the defensive side of the ball, as well as for our football team. Watching his energy level and his effort level has been impressive for 3 days, and again, challenging him as he moves inside and stays in that inside position. So that's good to see. Bumper Pool was very active today. Saw him make quite a few plays. So that was good to see. Devwall Whaley is another one, running back, that's he and Chase Hayden, as we would expect in year 2, to really step up. And again, for 3 days, first day in pads, it was good to see that. We did a little bit of hitting out there today, which was by design, and some scripted periods. But as the week goes, we'll definitely ramp that up. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Man, it's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, brought to you each and every day here live on KDSJ 479 Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And we brought in a little Chad Morris spring practice audio as he met with the media yesterday evening following practice number 3. Real excited, Demetrius. Coach feels like they're really going back to teaching the fundamentals of football, and I think that's where it has to start each and every spring practice. You never can rehearse enough of the fundamentals, don't you think?
Yeah, I think some things about football never change, and we were talking off air about certain ways to train players, and one big emphasis we mentioned was footwork. So I think really coaches focus on agility, just having guys that can really bend and able to really move and just play freely, because the game's only getting faster.
When you look at Arkansas was at yesterday's spring practice, and the thing that jumped out to me instantly was the physical makeup of this football team, with the way certain individuals were maybe able to add weight, good weight. Certain individuals may be able to lose some good weight, and those that were right there in between, the up and the down, and the way they were moving, they looked a little quicker. I could also tell that a year in the system, schematically, with most of the guys on the roster, they were very familiar with the terminology. Dustin Fry, Demetrius, and you and I talked about that, and it is going to be the $1 million question: is how will the offensive line progress in year 2. And I think, I had a chance to look at Chibani, Chibuzi Nuwana, also Myron Cunningham, some of those types of guys, and they have the physical makeup. I thought Dalton Wagner, I continue to be impressed with this young man as a third-year sophomore. I mean, his body and just the way he approaches the game from his freshman year to his third year on campus, Demetrius. I'm very impressed. When you look at the roster on that offensive line, what has to be real strong? Are you guard to guard, or does it have to be all the way across for this offense in year 2 under Chad to take maybe that next step in phase 2 of yet still an offense that I don't feel will be implemented 100% this season either?
I'm definitely going to say guard to guard. Tackle is definitely a crucial position too as well. But I think to answer your question, for Arkansas offense to make a step this year, we're going to have to be better up the middle. We're going to have to give them some time. I think this offense is created to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands pretty quick. And, the quickest pressure is up the middle. And we all know that, the SEC is run on the defensive line. So I think if just the offensive line can progress a little better than last year, I think we have the skill positions. I think we're going to be special at running back. Like you mentioned, Trey Knox and Treylon Burks. I think at that wide receiver position, we're actually going to make a huge jump. I think that's probably our best skill position as of today. So I think if we can improve up the middle on that offensive line, we're going to see that offense be so much more potent.
I totally agree with you. I really felt like a young man that continues to impress. I was unable to make it out to Friday's initial spring practice, but number 7, then you get used to that number. Number 7, true freshman Trey Knox. I said it as we were riding in to Demetrius, and I'll say it to our listeners and viewers. If the young man can stay healthy, stay out of any type of off-the-field controversy, this young man has a chance to be one of the elite receivers to play the game of football in Fayetteville, Arkansas, in my humble opinion. The grace in which he runs his routes, he seems to be a guy that likes to initiate the contact, and he's not going to be one of those receivers that are going to be, all about catching passes. This guy really seems to enjoy the contact part of it. So I was very impressed. Doesn't drop balls, Demetrius. I mean, the hands are just as good as what's been advertised, but just his physical makeup and his maturity level at such a young age, far too impressive to overlook.
Definitely. I think what's going to make him a special player is, I was always of the belief that you have people that love being football players, and then you have people that love playing football. And I think that's a big difference. He's one of those guys that love playing football. So that means even if you took the lights away, he would still go out and play football on Saturday, Friday with his friends. And I think those are the type of players that are great players. They understand it's more than X's and O's. It's more than having talent, but they have a passion, they have a love. And you can definitely see it with his play. You mentioned about that video they have about, not bull in the ring, I forget what they call it now. But they just had a physical one-on-one blocking. He showed a lot of physicality for a receiver. So I was excited to see that.
Coach Morris mentioned several freshmen, not just, Trey Knox. He talked about Greg Brooks, freshman cornerback out of the New Orleans area. He talked about Devin Bush, another big-time cornerback that was highly sought by the University of Arkansas out of the New Orleans area. He talked about Eric Gregory, a big defensive lineman out of the Memphis area by way of IMG Academy. All those guys. Shamar Nash was another young individual that really stood out to me, and he made a statement, Demetrius, that really resonated with me. His job is to improve each and every room year after year, and that just has to resonate with the Razorback fan base and let you know just Chad's not here just for fly by night. He's here to build a program. Been very impressed, but we're going to get our lineup set up. Coming up, head basketball coach of the Northside Lady Grizzlies. They'll be making their way to Hot Springs to take on the Bentonville Lady Tigers for the 6A state title. We'll talk with head coach Ricky Smith, and then following Coach Ricky Smith, we're going to stay there at Northside as the boys are going to be taking part in their third consecutive state title game versus the Bryan Hornets. We'll catch up with head coach Eric Burnett. All those things are to come. We're excited. I hope you're excited. So let's get this thing going. We caught up also with several of the Arkansas assistant coaches throughout a lot of the events that are going to be taking place this weekend. And Mike Neighbors was posed a question about Chelsea Dungy and her being named to the second team. And this is what Coach Neighbors had to say. And following that, Coach Ricky Smith of the Northside Grizzlies. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
All SEC season. I understand how people vote. Everybody's got a different opinion. I've followed the SEC voting for 20 years now. They value the number of games your team wins. It's more of a team award. I think I haven't seen the full thing. Jerry sent it to me, and it wasn't supposed to be released till 11, so I didn't look at it because I didn't want to know. But I was fully prepared that even though I think she had an all-SEC first-team year, probably wouldn't be recognized as that. Did Mal make it? I was also worried we'd split votes. We didn't win enough games to probably – this is a really hard league to make an all-SEC team because we only take 8 on the first team with 14 teams. If you look at the other leagues, sometimes it's split up differently. It's a really hard league. Plus, particularly this year, you had a lot of kids that were seniors. And, I think we could have named 4 of them before we ever played a game. As long as they didn't get hurt, you could have named 4 or 5, maybe 6. I haven't seen the list. But I know when I sat down to vote on it, it was incredibly hard. So I can see how that would be tough. But I think both of those kids had seasons to be recognized. I also think both of those kids probably don't care as much as me and you do about it because they care about what our fans think, their teammates think, their coaches think, our fans. I can guarantee when our fans see it, they'll be shocked. I had people text me thinking that, votes for players of the year and stuff. So, but I understand it. I know it doesn't drive her. She wants to win, and she'll understand that. But as a sophomore, to be recognized in this league amongst the people that I'm sure are on the list, it's a huge accomplishment.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and there's a special thing taking place each and every year with some of the local basketball high school programs, and what better way to talk to? We talked to this great coach last week, Ricky Smith of the Northside Grizzlies. They'll be taking on the Bentonville Lady Tigers in the 6A state title. Ricky, welcome back to the Hill, my man.
Yes, sir. Glad to be back.
Talk about it, Ricky. Saturday you guys played a classic, as each and every time Fayetteville's Lady Bulldogs and Northside's Lady Grizzlies get together, that's to be expected. Talk about that game and just, last week, Ricky, how that is continuing to build your program for what is to be yet another big game versus the Lady Tigers of Bentonville.
Absolutely. Last week was would have been a heck of a game to watch in the coaching seat. But, Fayetteville brought a really, really good game plan in and really got off to a good start. We were a little flat, and, we didn't play as well as we're capable, but Fayetteville had a lot to do with that. And you find yourself going in at halftime down 29-20, and boy, when you're ranked pretty high and your expectations are very high, that pressure just starts to build. And the anxiety our kids, you can just see it on their faces as we go in at halftime. And it's one of those times you're thankful for some tough ball games down the stretch in January and February. And I hate to admit it, but the loss at North Little Rocks 2 weeks ago in overtime kind of alleviated a little of that stress and a little of that tension. And so we go in at halftime and just try to regroup and come back out and play a little bit better the second half. But I thought Sarah Bashir stepped out and hit 2 25-foot three-pointers that really pretty much saved our season, got us back in it. And then Jersey Wolfenbarger led us with 23 points and hit some critical free throws down the stretch. But couldn't be more proud of my kids. Fair and Jersey both played the entire 44 minutes in the game and in 3 overtimes. So when you got your 2 leading scorers and, to go the full time on the floor, 44 minutes, that tells you they're warriors.
When you have to, like you say, Coach, play so many minutes, what's been the practice plan going into this week? Have you kind of laid off and maybe, let the young ladies get their legs back, or, what's been the plan heading into that championship game?
Well, that's funny you ask. I'm kind of an old school kind of guy. These kids can recover a lot quicker than I can. But we came in, gave them off Sunday, came back in Monday and had a little bit of a lighter practice. And then Tuesday we were getting it pretty good. And Coach Mankin, one of our retired coaches that volunteers for me, come by and he said, "Hey, let's save those legs for Friday." But I'm old school. I believe you grind and you work and you prepare as hard as you can, and the team that's in the best shape, toughest mentally, physically, usually finds a way to win at the end. But I did back off a little bit this week, and it's a little bit awkward for us. Tomorrow we're supposed to be on the floor at 10 o'clock at Hot Springs, and for us that would mean leaving really, really early in the morning, getting our kids up and getting out of town by 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we're gonna depart this afternoon and have a big send off here at school with the Grizzlies and the Lady Bears both playing. About 2:45, get a police escort out of town, and then stop. And we're not going far. We're going to Greenwood, and we're practicing. And so we'll get a good little workout in this afternoon, and then we'll go on into Hot Springs and try to let our kids get some rest.
When you watch film of this Bentonville Ladies, Lady Tigers team under Coach Halbermeyer, to me, Ricky, it may be his best basketball team as the head coach there. What concerns you guys when you look at the team? I know they got the big girl in Dowda, but what do you guys have to do to have success to get that? I think will be your 7th state championship.
Yes, obviously they're very, very good, and the biggest thing that's concerning me is they're playing some great basketball right now. They're peaking at the right time. They're playing with an extreme amount of confidence. The state tournament was in Bentonville, so obviously that helps a lot. But, the key, I think everything, revolves around the big kid. She's going to control the paint. She's going to, bother you offensively and defensively. She's going to alter some shots. And, the biggest key is you're not going to get many offensive rebounds with her in the paint. So you add that with a leading scorer in school history, and then surrounded by 3 or 4 other really, really good shooters. And it makes for a championship caliber team. And so, I have the utmost respect for Coach Hallmeyer. Tom and I have been friends for a long time. We're both kind of a small school kind of guys. He played at Lead Hill. I played at Pottsville. And so, good guy and strong work ethic. So, we know it's going to be a battle. We know Bentonville is, they're riding high right now. They feel very good about themselves. But I can say this, we're 27-1. We've played in a very, very tough league. We've gone to North Little Rock. We've gone to Conway. And, we played Conway at Conway when they had Asia Smith. And, she was their leading scorer and tore ACL right before the playoffs. And so that was a big difference. When she's not in the game, it affects them defensively and offensively both. But I'm not sure it would have made a 30-point difference like Bentonville beat them. But it would have made a difference. But Bentonville, obviously they're the 1 seed out of that conference. Beat Fayetteville a lot worse than we beat Fayetteville. So when you start comparing scores and looking at things, odds, they're really playing well at the right time. That's all you can say.
Talking with head Northside girls basketball coach Ricky Smith, his program will be making their way to Hot Springs to go for another run, I believe, for Coach Smith's top number 7 state championship. But with the one message, Ricky, before I let you go, what do you when you look back over what's about to come? What will be that one message that you speak with your team right before you guys take the court to try to get that championship?
Well, I'm not, as my assistant Scott Thompson says all the time, the hay's in the barn at this point. But for us, no magical statement or no rah-rah speech. Now, I am an intense coach, and I am fiery, and I do get fired up during the course of the game when I see my kids drop their head a little bit. But for me, it's just go play ball, have fun. This is who we are. This is what we do. These kids have played AAU basketball at a very, very high level their whole life, and they've prepared for this moment their whole life. And this is what you work for. I mean, this is it. This is the pinnacle of high school basketball. And so, the only thing I ask them to do when the game's over is to be able to walk in the locker room and look in the mirror and say, I gave it everything I had. I didn't take anything home. I left it on the floor. And if they can do that and they can look themselves in the mirror and say that to themselves, then, win, lose, or draw, as a coach, I'll be happy.
Wow.
But, it's what you always dream about. As a player, I could never get there, and I never had the opportunity. It wasn't good enough. My team wasn't good enough. But now, as a coach, you just you want to win so bad, but you also want to enjoy the moment. So there's a fine line there. But just thankful to be having a chance to go down there 11 times, which is unreal when you back up, think about it. But just proud of my team, proud of our kids. And a weaker team would have lost Saturday when we were down to Fayetteville late.
Right.
And just proud of the fight.
Well, Ricky, I
just
know.
Love my kids.
For all listeners, if you want to see what I consider to be the top two sophomores in the state of Arkansas do battle in Jersey Wolfenbarger and Marion Dowda, this is the game for you. They both have Arkansas offers, and I'm looking forward to it for the future of your program and for the Bentonville program as well. As you guys were former brethren in the 6A West, but as always, Ricky, good luck. Continue to do the great job that you do with those ladies, and thanks for taking time out here on the Hill.
Absolutely. I appreciate you always taking your time to talk to us. And people in Fort Smith, Arkansas are very appreciative of you. I want you to understand that.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that.
All right, buddy.
That was Fort Smith Northside girls head basketball coach of the Lady Grizzlies, as they'll be taking on the Bentonville Lady Tigers. Tip off, I believe, 2:15. It gets started on Friday for that three consecutive trip to the state title. Talk about that, Eric, and how excited are you for this particular ball club to be able to experience what they will on Friday?
Yeah, I'm excited about what they did. Finishing the year, we're in the fourth place, and after we beat Southside, the guys got together and had a little team meeting, and they wanted to come into the tournament ready to play, and I told them, into the tournament, your score your record is 0-0. It doesn't matter what you did up to this point. Everything is 0-0, and everybody's going into the state tournament is 0-0. And so for them guys to come out and play like they did, especially against Bentonville West, that was pretty impressive what they did.
You move on to Fayetteville, a very tight, hard-fought game as was to be expected on Friday. Move into the semis versus another conference foe that you're very familiar with, that being Conway. Talk about what you guys can take into face. This is not going to be the first or second time. You've had a lot of experience, in this season with Bryant. What must you guys do to get will be your second of three trips with the gold trophy?
Well, I think the kids, last year, the ones who came back, got a taste of those finals and, all the things that go on and leading up to that final game, and they really enjoyed that, and I think they wanted to get back here to the finals again, and putting 3 games together this last week, and they just wanted it more than the teams.
Eric, talk about your staff. I know you guys have you put together quite the staff. I know Greg Scott came up from your junior high, and Darby was one of those top programs in the region. Do you feel like with the programs that you're able to build down in your junior highs, will this thing continue on for years to come?
Yeah, first of all, Greg has been with me ever since I became a head coach. He's worked my camps in the summertime, and we've always communicated with each other throughout the year. And for me to have him on my staff the last 5 or 6 years is really special to me. And he's done a tremendous job, for me. And And so him coming out of junior high, to be with me, the kids already knew the system because Coach Scott has been with me for so long.
Right.
And so it really helps when the junior highs run your system, so you don't have to reteach. But the kids are, they're excited around Fort Smith now. The ones that, Kim and Darby just wanting to, feed Northside.
We continue to talk about Jalen and his progression, his maturation through this thing called basketball. I think Eric, he really took a step forward against Fayetteville and really against in that semifinal game. Talk about Jalen and how excited, how impressed from year one to year two are you with just his maturation?
I'm very impressed. After him coming out of the summer last year, he got to play against some really good players, and we sit down and have a little talk, and he was ready to go to work. I just told him some things he needed to work on and some things we need to get better at, and he had all ears and listened to me, and he started believing in me, and now, he's what he's done the last 3 ball games to me is just unreal. 8 blocks, 20 points, 14 rebounds. It's like he's controlling the whole game.
Right.
And that's what he should do. If you want to play at that next level, you got to be able to go out there and dominate the game. And he can dominate the game on defense and offense for us.
When you look at this game, who are the keys on the Bryant ball club that you really have to focus on? Because there's always a head to every offense. Who's that one particular players that when going in, the game plan will be solely to make sure that they don't get off as they have all season?
Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they got 3 guys. It ain't just one guy. They got 3 guys, and then they got some guys that play their role really well. Number 2, the really good shooter. I think he had 30-something points last week. It ain't just one thing. They do a lot of things really good. Coach Abrams does a really good job, defensively. Helping with the post defense and running us off the 3-ball line, and so it's going to be a tough matchup, and it's going to come down to whoever plays the best defense.
Talking with Northside head basketball coach Eric Burnett. They'll be taking on the Bryant Hornets this Friday for the 6A state title in Hot Springs, Arkansas. But lastly, Eric, before I let you go, what will be the one message that you'll say to your ball club prior to heading out for tip-off?
Is what I told them yesterday. Be humble and enjoy this moment, and we've got to be ready to play on Friday. I just think you got to enjoy this because you don't get to state finals, every year. And so we've been here 3 years in a row. I've learned that you got to enjoy this moment because this don't happen all the time. And I just told them to be humble. And that's I think when you get in a situation, that's what you have to do.
Well, Eric, as always, man, keep doing a great job. Good luck. I hope, that you can get that second one in 3 trips, as I think you really deserve it. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time out on the hill.
All right, thank you, Pat. Appreciate you having me on.
That was head boys basketball coach Eric Burnett of the Northside Grizzlies. They'll be taking on the Bryant Hornets for the 6A state title this Friday. I believe tip-off is at 4:15. This is Northside's 3rd trip in 3. Eric Burnett's doing a great job and has to be considered one of the elite coaches of high school boys basketball in the, as they say, the Diamond State. But we caught up with Coach Buckham. He's going to give you a preview of the NCAA men's side of the national championships, and then we'll come back and close this thing out. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Yeah.
Oh.
Doing good?
You don't have the biggest contingent, but you got some pretty quality guys. Just what kind of damage do you think you can do there?
Well, I hope a lot. it's like Cameron said earlier. I mean, you throw the rankings out. Rankings don't mean anything. I think you saw a little bit of that at the conference championship with how our guys competed, how our team competed. I mean, I think 4 of the top 5 teams in the country right now are SEC teams, other than Texas Tech, and we beat all but one of those teams. So rankings are out the window, and we just we know that we're in with the 2 HEPs, the triple jumper, and the 2 relays, and we can score some points.
Which one of those events do you think's your best shot to maybe win a title?
I think the distance medley, that's always a crazy race. There's 12 teams in there on Friday night, and it's a final. So that's a great thing about the 4x4, and it's a great thing about the distance medley. Even the triple jump, they're finals, and so it's anybody's shot. Anybody has a shot at that. So I hate to put a nod on one or the other, but I think the distance medley, just because it's such a crazy race, anything can happen. We got I think the best miler in the country on the anchor, and Cameron Griffith, if not one of the top 2 guys. So see what happens.
How about Gabe?
Gabe too. I mean, heck, how again, there's the other guy that has a shot at a national championship, no question about it. If he can put it all together, which he hasn't done yet, but if he can put it all together, he's been close. If he can put it all together, he's a dangerous athlete, and he's light on his feet. He's improved in a lot of events this year. One thing I didn't get to mention too, and I go, here's a guy that's had a coach for 3 years, and he comes in, and Mario comes in as a new coach, and not even been with him a year, and he's put up personal bests all over the place, and just really proud of how Gabe has handled everything, in regard to, the new coach and somebody that he hadn't worked with up until this year. So pretty impressive young man and pretty impressive athlete. So he's got a shot at it too.
Welcome back. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. As we let you hear audio from head men's track coach, Coach Buckham. And these 2 programs have done, an admirable job. The guys, to me, Demetrius, are still growing. There's still some youthful young men on that track program. But the girls, going for, I believe, number 8, true dominance, don't you think, for what they've been able to do? Because, it wasn't not too long ago that this was a program that still was in the building process. Talk about the job Coach Charter has done to get his program where it is today. You had a chance several weeks ago to see those ladies, and how impressed were you? And are they all that they're ranked to be the number 1 program in women's track?
For sure, they're the real deal. I think I don't think he really rebuilt anything. I think he just brought tradition back. Me and you were talking about it, and you said tradition never graduates. So I think he brought that track tradition, which is probably the most consistent program ever at the University of Arkansas. So I commend him for getting that pedigree back to the University of Arkansas, because I believe that's another area or sports program that's very highly rated here at the University of Arkansas.
See, I knew he always had it, and it's Wednesday, so we're getting more words. Listeners, I think we're doing a good job with our home guy and getting him to give us the skinny. But Arkansas, under Chad Morris, they'll be off today. No spring practice. We'll be back out tomorrow as they'll go through spring workout number 4. Also, too, make sure to check out Arkansas and the Vanderbilt Commodores tonight, 7:30 tip-off on the SEC Network. A very big road game for Coach Anderson and the men's program. Also, too, Arkansas's ladies. They're en route as they'll be taking on the Georgia Lady Bulldogs in the first round of the women's SEC tournament in Greenville, South Carolina. That coming up tomorrow. But I want to give a shout-out to all our guests. A thank you to Ricky Smith of the Northside Lady Grizzlies for coming on and talking Bentonville Lady Keys to the 6A State Championship game, and also to Northside head boys basketball coach Eric Burnett. He talked about just what they must do versus the Bryant Hornets in the boys' side of the 6A State Championship games. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel is located at 735 South Shiloh